Thomas and Friends, The Big Book of Engines. It's Thomas. He's the #1 blue engine. He's a cheeky little tank engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, and a whistle. Thomas works on his very own branch line with his 2 faithful coaches, Annie and Clarabelle. Sometimes he can be a little impatient, often getting himself into trouble. Oh, Thomas. But Thomas is always helpful and works very hard. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's Edward. He's the #2 blue engine. Edward is one of the oldest and wisest engines on the island of Sodor. Sir Topham had often relies on Edward to help out if either of the other engines or trucks misbehave. Edward has his own branch line that runs from Wellsworth to Brendam Docks. He is a kind engine and always ready to help his friends in need, whether there are big engines or small. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's Henry. He's the #3 green engine. When Henry first came to Sodor, he had to run on special coal. He was eventually repaired, and now he runs on regular coal. Because of this, Henry tends to worry and be overcautious. He is a large engine, and his favorite job is pulling the flying kipper. Henry always gets the job done safely and on time. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's Gordon. He's the #4 blue engine. Gordon is a big engine and one of the fastest and strongest engines on Sodor. He's very boastful and thinks that he is much more important than the other engines. He pulls the express and thinks he's the best. But Gordon is good-hearted and will use his superior strength to help his fellow engines out of trouble. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's James. He's the #5 red engine. James is very proud of his smart paintwork and shiny brass dome. He thinks he's a really splendid engine and only wants to do splendid jobs. When James had to pull the flying kipper, he backed into the trucks too quickly and got covered in stinky fish. But James realizes he can't always do the jobs he wants to do and will always say sorry and make amends. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's Percy. He's the #6 green engine. He's one of the younger engines on the island of Sodor. Percy is Thomas's best friend. Like Thomas, Percy is a tank engine. His favorite job is delivering the mail. Percy always wants to do his best and never gives up. That's why he's a really useful engine. It's Toby. He's the #7 tram engine. He doesn't have a whistle or a horn like the other engines. Instead, Toby has a bell. Toby is a brown wooden steam tram with cowcatchers. Toby usually works on the quarry line with his faithful coach, Henrietta. Toby may not be as fast or as strong as the other engines, but he always tries his best. That's why he's a really useful engine. Hello, Emily. Ah, Alfie the excavator. Annie and Clarabelle. Arthur. Bash and Dash. Belle. Bertie the bus. Bill and Ben. Those little demons. Silly Billy. Bulgy. Bulstrode. Captain. Caroline. Charlie. The Chinese dragon. Colin. Cranky. Daisy. Sir Topham had brought her to help Percy and Toby on the branch line while Thomas was away being repaired after his incident with the station master's house. Dennis. What a lazy one he is. It's Diesel. Diesel is very proud to be the first diesel engine to arrive on the island of Sodor. He believes that steam engines are no match for diesels. However, diesel is usually the cause for confusion and delay. He's oily, sneaky, and sometimes not to be trusted. That's why the other engines call him Devious Diesel. But given a chance, Diesel wants to do a good job and help out. That's why he's a really useful engine. Ah, Diesel 10, you know, from the Magic Railroad movie, who wanted to destroy Lady, but met his match at the end when he fell off the broken viaduct and into a barge of sludge. Ah, Donald and Douglas. When they first came along, Sir Topham couldn't choose between either of them. So disturbing. It's Duck. He's the number 8 steam engine. Duck's real name is Montague, but the other engines said he waddled and gave him the nickname Duck. Duck used to work on the Great Western Railway before coming to Sodor to help build the new harbour. He is a loyal and wise engine who does his work without fuss. He believes that there are 2 ways of doing things: the wrong way or the Great Western Way. That's why he's a really useful engine. Duncan. Elizabeth. Ferdinand. That's right. Fergus. Flora. Looks like Toby is not the only steam tram on Sodor after all, since she joined us a while back. Flynn. Fearless Freddy. George the Steamroller. Hank. Harold the Helicopter. Whirly Bird. Harvey the Crane Engine. Hector. Hector stands for Heavily Engineered Coal Truck on Rails. It's Hero. Hero arrived on the island of Sodor a long time ago. Harry and Bert. Jack the front loader. Jeremy the jet plane. Kelly. Kevin. Lady the magical engine. Thomas teamed up with her at the end and defeated Diesel 10 by luring him to that viaduct which was collapsing. Lady Hat, the Fat Controller's wife. Medge, the snub-nosed lorry. Mavis, you can usually find her shunting slate trucks at the quarry. Mighty Mac. Molly. Murdoch. Neville. Oliver, the Great Western Engine. His owner didn't want him anymore, and he was going to be scrapped till Douglas came along and rescued him, that is. Peter Sam. Rheneas. Rocky. He can lift any engine to safety and have them back on the tracks in no time. Rosie. Starting from Journey Beyond Sodor onward, she's painted in a new livery, cherry red, with the initials NWR on her side, which is Northwestern Railway. Rusty the Little Diesel. It's Salty, the Dockside Diesel. Sir Handel. Scarlowy. Spencer. Spencer is a bit of a snob and thinks that he's above manual duties like shunting. Stanley. When we first met Stanley in the Great Discovery, Sir Topham Hatt and the others got themselves carried away with his popularity that they neglected Thomas and made him jealous, which was similar to what happened between Woody and Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story. Stepney the Bluebell Engine. Terence the Tractor. Sir Topham Hatt, the Fat Controller. He's the director of the railway. Nothing is more important to him than his engines being really useful, and that means always being on time. When he was a boy, he left school when he was 14 and joined Swindon Engine Works as an apprentice. After a couple of years there, learning all there is to know about steam engines, he came back to the island of Sodor and worked as an engineer for one of the railway companies. And in time, when his good work was noticed, he eventually became big boss at a company called the Northwestern Railway. Mr. Percival, the Fin Controller. He doesn't much like cars and prefers to ride his trusty bicycle to work and back. Perhaps that's what keeps him so thin. Trevor the Traction Engine. He was going to be broken up for scrap till Edward saved him, that is. Troublesome Trucks. Now trucks are silly and noisy. They talk a lot and don't attend to what they are doing, and I'm sorry to say they play tricks on an engine who is not used to them. Every wise engine knows that you cannot trust trucks. Victor. Victor is in charge at the Sodor Steamworks. He has a heart of gold, which I'm sure that we all appreciate. He keeps the island of Sodor steaming along in good working order. And of course, and last of all, Whiff. His job is to collect the rubbish on the island of Sodor. It's a smelly job, but someone has to do it. Railway rhymes. And that's everyone that I've told you about. And here's the engine roll call song if you like to sing along. And here's a Sodor quiz. And the Great Race Game. If you burst a safety valve, go back to the start. A truck bumps you forwards one space. If you stop for a drink at the water tower, you miss a turn. You found a shortcut, move forwards 3 spaces. You're building up speed, zoom forwards 2 spaces. The turntable gets you in a spin, throw a 6 to move on. And your axles are aching, move backwards 1 space. Goodbye. You have reached the end of your journey. Come back and visit Sodor soon. Well, that's it. I hope you'll enjoy this. Oh, and this is dedicated to Kaylee, aka Thomas the Train fan number 1. Peace.